All right, cool. Well, I'm gonna. I guess really this is more a discussion for the two of us now, seeing as you're here. I was in assuming nobody else showed up. I just gonna like punch through it. But is there anything like you wanted to talk about or
Well, I mean, if you've got stuff to punch through, you may
no?
as well just do that. I mean, I
Okay.
kind of am just here just to, I thought it might be nice just to get a bit of an update on how things are going,
Yeah,
because I
definitely.
haven't really spoken to you for a while. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I guess I'll just go through. I'll share my screen as well, so you can see what's going on. Not that
yeah,
there's
cool.
much, but share screen. Yeah. So I just these are my notes for today. But yeah. So hello, we've already talked about that. So this is the stuff that like the purpose of the meeting was to offer a buyback. So as you saw before in the Discord chat, in order to do that, I had to like schedule this meeting and tell everybody that
Mm.
it existed. And then once we got the meeting, I was going to, and I'm about to, pass this resolution. Actually, this was the wrong price. That was the old one. So, um, basically, I was looking at how much the shares are currently worth,
Yeah.
and then how much cash I got in the bank, and that's the total liquid assets. The reason I'm only working with the liquid assets is because I need the other stuff. So I got Stokastia to buy the hardware that we're using all the time, and previously that was owned by my other company, Civilize. But I'm trying to wind that down. So
Yeah.
plus, that's what we were using every day. So we've got other assets, but this is the liquid assets. So working with that, and then when I set up the company, I needed good internet here, so I signed a contract to have a commercial connection put in, and then this is the remaining commitment there. So I can't hand out cash that's already committed in that sense. So the leftover money is this much, and then to convert that over to the share prices doing this. So this is like the total money that we'd raised. This is how much we've actually got, and then um, yeah. So anyway, this is now the amount. The old amount was I think 1 cent or something, so it would have been like that.
That was the original
Yeah, this is
cost. Yeah.
where we're at.
Yeah.
But we had like various setup costs. We had some failures in the beginning when we before we switched to superhero. Then we sort of recovered, which was good. But yeah, we haven't like I guess everybody knows that we haven't had the amazing results that we were hoping for. Having said that, I'm still optimistic about the future, but yeah, we haven't got there yet. And I can talk about that more in a sec, but um, and I've got this, I've copied it over incorrectly. So I had done this calculation previously. Um, so I don't know if you can, just referring back to here, I had
Yeah.
said this price down here, which is a bit small probably to see, but that was based on what the market value was at the time. So it's a slight difference. Um, and I got to update this bit. So I don't know if you have anything you want to add to prevent me from doing that. Anything I should
No.
consider? It sounds reasonable to you, I
That
guess.
sounds that sounds perfectly reasonable to
Yeah,
me. Yeah.
cool, fantastic. Well, there we go. Proposing that. I vote yes. That's everybody that needs to vote. So that's done. Um, so beyond that, we can just discuss stuff. So I had a couple of points that I thought may be good to discuss, and I was also thinking it's probably good to discuss the past and also to discuss the future, and like what is actually going on at the moment. So when we were trading, we built up a backlog of accounting work, unfortunately, and it's just like tens of
Yeah.
thousands of stuff. And It took me a while to work out how to actually handle it in the two different currencies. And the other thing too, the other important point here is that because I'm trying to minimize expenditure for everybody, like I'm trying to hold on to every single dollar. I'm
Yeah.
not paying anybody. I'm not paying myself, not paying an accountant, not paying any like this, that, and the other. And there's two reasons for that. One is like I want to bootstrap things for the sake of not wasting people's money. But then the second thing is if we succeed in like the big picture succeed, um, I want to have a system. I want to have an engine that ticks over without human involvement. Like I'm trying to build, or I should probably say, we're trying to build an engine that makes money.
Yeah.
On the one hand, and minimal human intervention is great. Obviously, we need to do things where we need to, and then beyond that, in the really big picture, I don't trust. Um, how do I say this? This is going to sound a little bit unusual, I guess, but maybe I don't know what we talked about in the past, but there's sort of like a cosmic aspect to what's going on in the world right now with respect to AI. And, it's very unlikely that we're the ones that are going to win the race and build machine superintelligence. But whoever does, that is like a really profound situation for um, the world. Like if you have this super powerful machine that can do everything better, cheaper, faster than anything else, it's like basically that entity wins capitalism. And there's a big issue there about who gets to control the machine, and how do they decide that the machine's actually like there's discussion within the AI space about alignment, but there's another sort of meta issue of alignment with who. And right now, the big players are like governments or FANG corporations, and I am concerned, as is Yasser, I think, about how that will pan out. And I want to make sure that, you know, if we're fortunate enough to be in that circumstance, that
Mm.
we don't owe some VC firm some say in what happens. And so, ideally for me, if everything goes really, really well, and we manage to build this machine that scales and improves over time, that then we can then transition to something that's driven by philosophical reasoning and thought rather than political and economic interests, which is the default of what would happen otherwise. So that's the other reason why I'm bootstrapping. Technically, we could reframe this company and then try and get some funding. And I don't know if you saw, there was like some company in Europe, and they managed to raise like $100 million before they even had a product. It's like there's wild stuff
Oh,
going on out there.
yeah.
Um, and the issue is that if we go down that path, then effectively we're going to give up our ability to direct how things go, how things
Yeah.
turn out.
Yeah.
OpenAI seems to have thought about this, and they're actually like they've done some very tricky things legally with their constitution to try to protect against those forces. But yeah, at the moment, I trust myself, and I'm trying to behave in a way where I hope to be earning the trust of the people I interact with, and then at some point transition that system in a way to some proper governance thing. If we succeed, which is, my aspiration and dream. Um, so yeah, that's the. It seems very silly talking about that stuff, but the choices that are made now do affect the possibilities there. So yeah. Anyway, so right
Yep.
now we're held up with this backlog of stuff, and I was doing it manually. Um, but then I was like, you know what? I want this to be automatic. I want this to be, hey, the bot makes a trade, and then immediately we know what all our financial numbers are. Like doing any tax in either jurisdiction is trivial because we just everything is good. And so that's what I've been working on since I finished up with my job in March. Um, is like primarily has been working on um, building an accounting system, which so far I haven't really done any of the AI stuff. That I know that I can have confidence in that it's correct and that it's doing the right thing and enables
Yep.
that. So that's what I'm working on. I'm pretty close to having that done. And once that's done, I will finish up the accounting, catch up with all the numbers and know everything's right, do the taxes, and then get back into actually doing the AI stuff. Yasser, in the meantime, has been still fiddling with technical stuff, but also um, because he's in India, uh, um, he was looking to set up his own company in India. But after exploring that, it turned out that it's a lot more hassle than what I had to do in Australia. So I'm not really sure where where that discussion leads in terms of like what's going on. But that's the activity that he's been up to. He's been working with this other guy called Sambit. Sambit's another guy that both Yasser and I knew through ANU. Um, and so those guys have been working together pretty closely, doing stuff in India. Um, they managed to find people that wanted to put in about 200k collectively, um, and that's US dollars, so much bigger than the
Wow.
Australian
Wow.
company.
Yeah.
But because he couldn't get all the legal stuff sorted, he hasn't been able to say yes to them. Um, the other thing too is we set up a US company, but nothing's happened there. Part of the reason we did that was we were having issues with this bridging of jurisdictions. Like the accounting problem would have been trivial if it was just Australian dollars in Australia dealing with Australian things. Um, so it's like, well, if we have an American company, then we can just have the American company deal with stuff in America, and then the Australian company could just own the American company. Anyway, I that's sort of been on ice. Nothing's happened there, and we've just been using Superhero until I froze things because of the accounting backlog. So I'm actually thinking I'll shut down that American company, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Nothing urgently needs to happen there, so that's not a priority. And then the other thing too is in the time that like when I decided to freeze trading, basically what I did was um, I switched to a buy and hold strategy where we're basically just holding AI companies, and that has been working pretty well because we had the whole ChatGPT release thing, and that meant that we recovered quite a bit of money just in one go by chance. I didn't know the ChatGPT was going to be coming out, um,
Yeah.
so that was really good, and we saw a lot of growth across all the AI firms. Nvidia's having a field day. It's just crazy. Like
Mm.
if you'd invested in Nvidia back in the beginning, it'd be a big deal.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So right now, while we're waiting for me to finish what I'm doing, that's what's happening with everybody's cash. Is that it's sitting in companies like Apple and Tesla and Microsoft. Microsoft because they own a percentage of OpenAI at the moment, although that's time horizoned. Um, and yeah, so I'm just sitting on that. The other thing too, the reason why I did that was I um, look, I have a lot of faith in Yasser. So I don't want this to be received in the wrong way, but I just want to have more personal confidence and understanding in whatever the current model's doing. And because we haven't had like the mind blowing, awesome response that our initial uh, projections and simulations were like suggesting, I just want to like revisit that again before um, leaning back into it, especially given like we're below the amount that we started with. So, interestingly, Yas has been trading himself personally with his own funds in India using the model, and he's been making money. So, I don't think
Is that
that,
on Indian markets?
yeah, on the Indian market. So, I think there could
For
be various factors at play there where, um, hey, we've
it's
got
James.
Chris and James here. That's
Hey,
great.
yeah,
There
I
could,
just wanted to say we didn't lose any money on the from the bot. It was from NAB fees and
oh yeah. So I
stuff
mean
like that.
that's
So
true.
yes, it didn't have that component.
That is true. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the bot's been performing really well in that market in comparison. And the other thing too that is worth noting is that stuff's been going on in the world. Like we've since we started, we've had the invasion of Ukraine. We've had like inflation stuff going on in the US, and so the market has been unfriendly, let's say,
Yeah,
overall.
I don't think anyone should feel bad about the performance so far. I mean, I think my personal investing over the last 2 years has probably done worse than Stokastia. So
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that it's actually we did see moments where it seemed to make really good choices.
yeah,
But again, it's probabilistic. So it was relying, and then this is the other reason why we built up such a big backlog is that for us to, you know, get anywhere, we had to place a lot of bets, assuming that on average our bets will be well placed. So if
mm,
we only were placing very few, then that meant that we were like subject to volatility on those particular instruments, and so we were trading very broadly across the whole market. Um, and the interesting thing with that too, and this could be another reason why we didn't see amazing outcomes, was that the more instruments we trade, the more it is that we're just following the market. Like if you just own everything,
yeah,
you're going to get the performance of the market.
yes,
So
yeah,
there's an interesting trade-off there where we have to like decide how much risk we want to take in order to like outperform the market versus the safety of having um, that broad set of trades.
yeah,
So
yeah.
um, so yeah. Anyway, that's pretty much the story of what's
How?
happened, where we're going. There's more to talk about too, but yeah, you go. Sorry.
Sorry, just how long ago did you freeze trading?
Um, it's probably been I don't know. I can look it up, but it's been a while. Like it's been probably 2 months at least.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
If we go to the recommendations, you can see where I was placing orders and what I was doing.
yeah,
So the last time I was like that was June, where I was following the bot. And yeah, like the main reason that I stopped with that is not concerns to do with the bot. It's more concerns to do with ending up with this backlog of activity
yeah.
that
No, that
needed
makes
to
sense.
be
Yeah.
accounted for. And then the other thing too is that's worth mentioning is that I did do a little bit of consulting and I fed that back into the company as well. So I got 2,000 for doing some work talking to students at Lithgow High School. I did some workshops and stuff, which was pretty
Oh,
fun.
cool. Yeah, cool.
Um, and yeah, I haven't paid myself at all yet. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get this engine ticking over and then um, make that transition. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. On just on that accounting backlog, I'm assuming we don't have any sort of real tax liability because
Yeah, well, we don't because we
we're
haven't
not
made any money.
making money.
But
Yeah,
the
cool.
problem is that I still have to submit all the paperwork.
No, I know, I know, I know, I
So,
know. I just
um,
wanted to clarify that. Yeah,
yeah. No, the good thing
yeah,
is we haven't actually paid any tax. We don't need to pay any tax. Um, there are some things that we need to pay to like ASIC for registration fees annually and stuff like that. But in terms of like income tax or GST, we pay zero right now. So we're not even registered for GST, um, and we don't need to pay income tax because we have negative income.
yeah.
But
GST is 75 grand turnover, I think. Is it
I think it's been upgraded
the
to close
threshold?
to 100.
Oh, really? Okay.
But the interesting thing too here is that this business model um, doesn't behave like a normal business. So
No, because
the, there's
there's no
no
real.
revenue as such.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and so it's like only capital gain and capital loss. And that's the other thing
yeah,
that's really important about where we're going next is that we want to transition to an account-based system. So at the moment, all you guys, um, and I mean that in the gender-neutral sense, everybody are the shareholders. But
yeah,
for Stokastia to work, there's like two aspects for it to succeed. One is the quality of the engine, and then the other one is the size of the fund. So if we want to like radically increase the size of the fund, we need to switch to an account-based system, and that would be better for people that want to put money in and have it managed, because then they can just put money in, take it out dynamically without worrying about what we're doing today with ASIC and needing to do share buybacks. Um, so the problem there is that there's a whole lot of legal and regulatory stuff that I don't know about yet to do with, are we providing financial advice? Like, do we need to comply with stuff to, like how there was the Royal Commission into banking
yeah,
and like, I know nothing about that space. Yasser and I, we know AI type stuff. I know some stuff to do with, you know, management and business and entrepreneurship, but I know nothing about financial law.
yeah.
So I've been ignoring that, but my
Well, I think
intention is. So you go.
that was always kind of like that was talked about at the beginning
Yes, so that
of
was the
it being
plan.
that sort of structure, right? But then
Yeah.
it was too hard, essentially,
Yeah,
right?
basically
I think.
what I've done is a hack. That's really what I've
Yeah,
done. I've just done a
yeah,
legal hack.
which
Um,
works.
which yeah, it works. It basically delivers the same outcome for you guys, just it's less seamless and I guess
Yeah,
too
clunky, definitely.
there's an aspect to it where you're actually part of the beginning. It's like technically you're a shareholder rather than a customer, which that's I don't know. That's not really a big deal, but um, it could be something. When we finally succeed and we're a $1 trillion company, and you'd be like, yeah, I still got my F class. But yeah, practically it's just a bit of legal machinery. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, what else have I got down here on my notes? Yeah, so I think I've sort of talked about those things. 13's kind of important and something I've been reflecting on. But I should probably before I start a whole other tangent, just see. Do you guys want to raise anything, say anything, ask something? No. Okay, cool. Should I keep talking or um, should we just wrap up?
Depends if you've got more to talk about, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. So I can definitely talk. I can talk a lot.
I mean, I'm
My
interested. I'm listening.
That's good. All right. I wasn't like I didn't want to just be like giving out a lecture and you guys are just okay, John. Righto.
I'm interested too. This has been
Thank you,
interesting.
Chris. I appreciate that. Yeah. So the other issue too is that like if we are going to succeed, it's not just about making our system work and even making it profitable. We're actually in a competition in a much bigger world where if we want to get that outcome where we can succeed in the big picture, we have to do it in a way where we get faster and faster and faster as we go, which is another reason why in the short term I've been slow. I want to build a system that actually builds itself, um, where we really lean into the machine to do as much as possible, because the big picture game is one where we are in a race against all those FANG companies and other companies and other entities. And so we can't. It's this paradox where, I don't want to take VC money. I don't want to go down that path. Not that we have an amazing product or anything like that right now. We're still super embryonic. But like, if we're going to succeed, we can't just be okay. Um, yeah. And so part of that is wanting to build an architecture and systems that enable sort of a dynamic evolution and growth of the system itself. So I've been talking to James about this on and off, usually with Yasser, like how can we build this system to build itself? And I think in the early days we probably talked more broadly about having evolutionary algorithm type things where you have different traders and they compete with each other, and you let them create little trader children and whatever, and they compete, and you run that sort of algorithm, and then as that works better, you can sort of scale it up to be bigger and bigger and enter more and more markets and things like that. The thing that I'm really wanting to explore once I deal with the current problem is building a, a function network where, excuse me, um, uh, there's a lot of background to what I'm thinking here, but essentially, I've got this idea about artificial general intelligence and how do you build generally intelligent systems. And the essence of that is needing to be able to write functions. So, in some sense, everything that's going on as an economic activity or whatever, you can view the world through the paradigm of everything being a function, and every function being composed of other simpler functions and so on. So if we have a system that can write functions for whatever problems it's presented with, then that's essential to winning that bigger race. So there's a lot of excitement about these large language models and things like that, but then they fall down with really simple things like logical problems. Like I was talking it to the other day, and I gave it a constraint, and I was like, "Hey, can you write me this Python script subject to this constraint?" And then it's like, "Yeah, no problem." And then it does it, and then it's like completely ignored the constraint. So what I'd like to build, and this is more of a technical thing, is where we generate all shortest possible programs that we can, shortest possible functions, and then have all of them exist in a network where they can all talk to one another, and then work towards being able to, how do I say, like self-assemble type stuff. So that's like more exploratory, but the thing with that is that if you have that and you have all these sort of nodes that can be living on the same machine, or they can be distributed across the internet, or whatever sort of physical setup you want, if you have the ability to just like address and contact any of them and they can all compute in parallel, then that I think is a really scalable approach to that vector of like that direction of AI development. So just very, very quickly, my thinking here is that if you had a Raspberry Pi, or you had like some integrated circuit, you could ask the question, how intelligent can you make that black box? And one answer to that is to just pack in every single possible function that it could do until you run out of memory. But then the issue there is that you may have spent memory on functions that never get called and never get used. And you could effectively have a bigger hypersphere of function space if instead of packing in every single possible function and just memorizing them, you had the ability to build a function. So then you could use some subset of all of those shortest possible ones as sort of like an alphabet with which to write something that reaches beyond your memory constraints. And that, I think, is what I want to explore. And then also with that, with the function that, and it's like very little to do with Stokastia as a business, but you know, it's interesting and related, and hopefully it leads to utility. But have each of those functions existing as sort of like an independent object that does dynamic memoization. So one of the things that I did recently was because I was dealing with all these exchange rates and I kept having like floating point errors that didn't quite match up. I was like, damn it, I'm annoyed with this. I want to have exact precision arithmetic. So I wrote this thing that was doing what we did in high school, where it's like all the operations where you're just dealing with fractions. And there was never any approximation. They were always exactly right. And to do that, I ended up using prime factorization. So I was like referencing all these prime numbers, and it works amazingly. But the interesting thing with it is that in order for that to work, I had to have the ability to know what the prime numbers were. So I ended up having like this 1 GB file that I would reference, and it was just the set of primes, and I'd go through it sequentially until, you know, I found the number that I was looking for the particular operation, and it works really well. But what I'm imagining is that whole thing that just does the prime factorization would be like a node in this network. And if you had some other function, some abstract thing that we don't know about, if it was being asked the same question many, many times, it would just memorize it, and it would be on hand for the next time somebody asked it. And so you could benefit from parallelization as well as like remembering the things that you need to remember. And yeah, anyway, I think it's the space that I want to explore, and having that integrate with, you know, all the neural network type stuff that Yas is doing, but then also building in as part of that function network existing known old tech that is awesome. You know, like all the stuff from the 60s and 70s and good old fashioned AI, like a lot of the issues that the large language models have is they're not integrating them well. Like you can't do the constraint satisfaction. Like this is a solved problem in some sense in computer science. And it's ridiculous that it's not ridiculous. I shouldn't say it like that. That's a little bit too hard on them. They're amazing what they've done, but it's kind of crazy that we have these things that we know are provably optimal or, you know, work really, really well, and then they're not integrated with this other system. So the benefit of having this function net is that any of these functions could be any tech. You could have a function living in the network that was a neural net, and you could have a function that's a support vector machine, and you could have a function that's, you know, some constraint satisfaction system, and they can all talk to each other. And I was also in that space thinking of like, how can we have this operate in a way like the evolutionary algorithm, or have some sort of market where these functions know how to scale themselves up and scale themselves down. Anyway, that's where I want to go once I finish the accounting. It's pretty funny. Like I'm stuck on really mundane stuff, but yeah. And I also want to the first port of call too with me actually helping out with the trading system is doing some deep reinforcement learning work, which I studied more than Yasser did, so I feel like there's a lot of potential benefit there in terms of identifying strategies and stuff where the agent itself finds the strategy rather than just trying to work out probabilities of high-low type stuff. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I've talked a lot.
No, that's all right. I don't have a whole lot to add to that, but I was happy to listen to it.
Yeah, great.
It was
I really
fascinating.
appreciate you coming, and same with you, Chris and James. It's nice to not just be alone.
Good to hear
And the other thing
where
too
you're
is
at and plans for the future.
I just want to say too, Chris, sorry to talk over you, that like feel absolutely no obligation. If you want to take your cash out, that's all good by me. I'm happy for you to come back later if you want. Um, Everybody's situation is different. I definitely, the way I want to operate is I want to operate in a way where everybody knows that I'm trying to act in their interests. So, yeah, so with respect to the buyback, I'll let everybody know that this is now something that's available to all of them, and yeah, no obligation either way. So
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I never expected this to be we're going to make money straight away sort
yeah,
of thing.
yeah,
Like, as good as the projections were,
yeah. There's still
it just couldn't
really,
be that simple. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
so I don't know. For me, I never expected it to be a really short term thing anyway. So I have
yeah,
no issues with it.
yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I was trying to make that clear in the beginning that we don't have any guarantees that this is going to work. Technically, like there's one mathematical theory that says what we're trying to do is impossible. So it's like if we get any good results, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how we go. And the other thing too is, although we're having like a formal, meeting with an appointed time, feel free to ping me and ask me stuff or just chat. I'm at my desk a lot and I'm happy to talk about it. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate that.
Chris, I'm sorry I talked over you before.
Yeah, thanks,
Did you want
Sean.
to carry on or?
No, it did not really.
Okay, cool. All right. And James, anything from you?
Similar sentiments to Dan.
Oh, that's
James
good.
dropped
I
out.
think I saw James leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He put something in the chat saying he had to
Yeah.
drop off or something. I don't know
Yeah.
what he said.
I guess it's still a work day for him, so he probably ran out of his half an hour of lunch and had to go back.
Oh yeah,
again.
yeah, true.
Yeah, cool. I should just. Oh yeah, I already know. I'll just put you guys down. And,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I will stop it there. Thanks very much.
Cool.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
John.
much. Okay, I'll catch you later, Ben. Thank you,
Thanks,
Chris.
Sean.
See you later. Bye.
See ya.